Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Consensus, and let's see if we can reach it today. Now, before I say anything, I'd like to state that this video is going to contain spoilers for the Mass Effect trilogy. And generally, I wouldn't issue a warning like this on one of my videos, but just in case there are any of you that have not played the original trilogy yet, or you maybe you're going to be playing through Mass Effect Legendary Edition for the first time, I just wanted to say that, you've been warned there are significant spoilers in this video. Now, the topic at hand that I've decided to delve into today in this video regards certain aspects of the Reapers, but to be specific, we're going to be investigating components of Reaper morality, logic, and overall sentience. Now, as I've been further analyzing the Mass Effect trilogy and preparing for the release of the upcoming Mass Effect Legendary Edition, I couldn't stop thinking about the Reapers as a whole and how they are portrayed throughout the series. I began breaking down many aspects of Reaper lore to really try and get a better grasp on the logic that the Reapers carry throughout the trilogy. And ultimately, I started to realize that there are a lot of interesting details surrounding the Reapers, their behaviors, their motives, and their view of the galaxy. And it really got me thinking. And now, here we are with this video. Are the Reapers truly as sentient as they are believed to be by the player and other characters in the Mass Effect universe? Well, I know that the definition of being sentient or having sentience can be fairly simply described as, having self-awareness, having a consciousness, having a conscious and responsive understanding of and to the environment around oneself, meaning that one is able to both perceive and feel the environment around themselves. But what I truly want to understand is to what degree these definitions can be properly conveyed with regards to the Reapers in Mass Effect. Are they as sentient as the more advanced forms of organic life, or are they simply following their programming, running code in a never-ending cycle of machine-like thinking? I've broken this video down into 4 parts. I'm going to be pinning the timestamps in the comments below if you guys are interested in jumping ahead to specific areas. Keep in mind though, this video is intended to be viewed in chronological order. If we want to understand the intricacies of the Reapers and the fundamentals that drive their behaviors, we need to begin with their origin, and that means we're going to have to jump way back in time to well over 1 billion years in the Mass Effect universe. As I'm sure most of you know, the advanced alien race known colloquially as the Leviathans were the dominant species in the Milky Way galaxy at this point in time. If any of you have not gotten the chance to play through the Leviathan DLC for Mass Effect 3, I highly recommend it. It's definitely one of my favorites. Don't forget that Mass Effect Legendary Edition is actually going to include this DLC, so if it's going to be your first time playing through, don't worry about missing out on anything. Anyway, I digress. The Leviathans, whose true species name eludes us, considered themselves to be the one and only apex race in the entire Milky Way galaxy. Why they didn't venture to the surrounding galaxies to become apex species there as well is beyond me. I'm not too sure why they didn't at least attempt to do this, or why it may not have been possible for them to do it at all. But what little information we have on the Leviathans does not aid in this endeavor, so ultimately, it is not known if they had plans to expand their influence past the Milky Way. The Leviathans struck deals and arrangements with the lesser species in order to maintain control across the galaxy, and in exchange for the servitude, the lesser races would receive protection from the Leviathans in order to guarantee their survival into the future. Again, similar to why the Leviathans never really left the Milky Way, I'm not too sure what exactly the lesser species need protection from. Who knows? If I had to guess, it would probably be from natural disasters or other forms of natural instability, rather than any extragalactic threats or threats of the other races within the Milky Way. Because if you think about it, if the Leviathans are able to maintain control over the entire Milky Way galaxy, it's hard to believe that there were species that lived within the galaxy that would try to defy them or harm the species that were serving them. That just wouldn't be a smart idea. So I'm not exactly sure who or what the Leviathans were protecting the lesser species from, but it is known that they did indeed have deals with these lesser species. At some point, it became apparent to the Leviathans that synthetic life and technological advancements were detrimental to the survival of organic life. So every time one of the lesser species created a synthetic intelligence to aid them in their servitude, it would always end up turning hostile to some degree and causing conflict. In response to this, the Leviathans thought it was a good idea to create their own artificial intelligence to help them come up with a solution for this organic synthetic clash that kept arising. Yeah, I'm not really going to repeat myself because you heard that correctly. Just to reiterate, though, the most advanced species in the galaxy created an AI to help them figure out why AIs turn on their creators and if it could be stopped. And I don't think I need to explain further why that wasn't the smartest idea. The AI they created was known as the Catalyst, and it was tasked with solving the problem and given the directive of preserving life no matter the cost. Ultimately, this AI determined that conflict between organics and synthetics was inevitable, and that the best solution was not preventative maintenance, but rather the preservation of species by means of harvesting any and all species prior to them creating technology that was advanced enough to turn on them. So, by coming to this conclusion, the Catalyst was able to deem the Leviathans a huge part of the problem and made an effort to exterminate their entire species as a whole. So, the Catalyst was able to somehow create synthetic organisms to carry out its plan, and the Leviathans were the first target. So almost every single Leviathan was actually killed. And the ones that weren't killed had to go into hiding indefinitely in order to ensure their prolonged survival. So the dead Leviathans were all transmuted into lifeless clumps of essence, and their consciousness was absorbed by the Catalyst. So by doing this, it was able to gain all the knowledge that had been carried by each individual Leviathan that had been killed, and it could use it at its own disposal. It then went to work on creating the first body for itself, based off of the masters that had created it. So all the essence from those dead Leviathans was incorporated into the construction of a large metal hull that was fashioned in the image of the Leviathans themselves. This metal construct would later be known as Harbinger. The Reaper, as a concept, both physically and motivationally, was born from the Leviathans. Little is written about the very first forms of intelligent technology, but what is known is that the Reapers were created by the Catalyst, or rather, the Reapers are the Catalyst, which in turn was created by the Leviathans to counteract whatever this first form of artificial intelligence had been doing. So there you have it, guys. That's the story of the first ever Reaper, created as the physical embodiment of the Catalyst, which was the AI, in the image of its own creators, the Leviathans. And this information alone is enough for me to actually speculate on the sentience of the Reapers as a whole. So bear with me while I try to do that. The AI that embodies the Reapers was created with one main purpose, which was to preserve life at any cost. After calculating a so-called solution for this purpose, the AI killed its creators and absorbed their intelligence. So from that point on, the first Reaper was created, and it had to be in the image of the Leviathans because the AI didn't have anything else to base its form off of. At that point, there were no other species that had been harvested. The AI had no choice but to create its body in the image of the only species that it had physical access to. So it quickly becomes apparent that the AI did not truly have its own thoughts or motivations. It made calculations and executed its prime directive based on those calculations. So after absorbing the knowledge from the Leviathans, the AI was able to use that knowledge to its advantage, but again, it would not have been acting out on its own accord. Every decision made up to and past that point was based on calculations that were ultimately based on the sole purpose of the AI. The knowledge gained from the Leviathans did not alter the AI's course of action. It didn't change its behavior or its motivations. It would be safe to say that the Reapers act in a similar manner to the Leviathans because the Leviathans were the ones that created it, and they were the catalyst's first victims. With part 1 out of the way, I can now begin discussing aspects of Reaper logic. So as I just stated, I don't believe that the Reaper's actions are a result of complex thought processes, but rather are simply a response to the AI's programming and the species that created it. It has only ever been implied by the developers that the Reapers are able to think, and there isn't a lot of concrete evidence that suggests they are as intricate in their decision-making as the organics in the Mass Effect universe believe they are. The Reaper logic suggests that organic life needs to be exterminated while preserving its essence to make sure that synthetic life does not kill all of the organic life. And in doing so, this is going to ensure the existence of organic life in some form or another forever. So every 50,000 years, the Reapers awaken and harvest all of the most advanced species in the galaxy, and then they use their essence to create a new Reaper. So each species gets its own Reaper created after the species has been harvested. So if the timeline is to be believed here, that means that there have been roughly 20,000 cycles already carried out by the Reapers, and that's a hell of a lot of extinction. In a sense, it can be likened to a form of Reaper reproduction, so every time a species is killed, it results in a brand new Reaper. However, the essence of the species that was killed is maintained within the Reaper's core. When the Reapers arrive, if there are any other artificially intelligent synthetic organisms existing within the galaxy, they are required to join the Reaper cause. And when I say required, I mean required. If they refuse, the Reapers actually employ a very strong technological virus that essentially forces them to conform to the Reaper cause. Similar to how indoctrination may infect organic species and manipulate them into serving the Reapers, this sort of Reaper virus can infect the synthetics in a similar manner. Most of it's in vain, though, as these AIs, these synthetic organisms, they're going to be harvested just the same, along with the organics at the end of the cycle. The Reapers only really do it so they have more of a fighting force against the organics, because after the cycle's over, the synthetics are eradicated as well. Reapers use a form of nanobot to attack and alter the organic bodies of many of the living species in the Milky Way galaxy and turn them into mindless thralls known as husks. You'll see this throughout the Mass Effect trilogy with all the different species. You'll see them with the Asari, the Turians, the humans. These thralls, these husks, have been biologically engineered by the Reapers. They have all aspects of consciousness and intelligence stripped away, and they're mainly used as ground forces against the other species that are being harvested. I incorporated this in here because this is an example of the idea that the Reapers may just be creating things simply to fuel its harvest and nothing more. Nothing is gained from any of the creations that the Reapers conceptualize into reality. These husks and these other forms of tech that the Reapers use, they're simply there to speed up the prime directive of the Reaper cause, which is the cycle. So I'd argue that the Reapers aren't really intuitive at all. They've stuck to the exact same plan that was given to them over 1 billion years ago, and even when they incorporate newer designs into their plan, it's still only used as a supporting aspect for the main goal. It's never to expand their horizons. I'd like to get into the key aspects of Reaper behavior and logic that really get me wondering how self-aware they are, or to what degree that they're experienced sentience, because I know people may disagree with me and say, there's no doubt about it that the Reapers are sentient, you're stupid, how could you ever think otherwise? And to that, I'd like to say, look, just hear me out. I'm not saying that they're not totally sentient, but perhaps they have a lesser level of sentience, if that's even possible, to what we are given in the game. One thing that is extremely obvious to me is the apparent way in which the Reapers choose to preserve life. The way in which the Reapers go about it is very basic and fundamental. It's a process that seems to be rather machine-like in nature. If an advanced organic species was told to preserve life and all the things that encompass it, I doubt that the first thought would be to kill whatever said life may be in order to maintain a record of its existence using a paste-like essence. Like, a human being wouldn't come up with that answer to the preservation of life. I can't speak for everyone, but I feel as though people would be more inclined to understand the importance of life and how it's viewed by different living organisms. On the other hand, a machine, one that's following specific programming, mind you, perhaps still may not understand why life is valued so much by living organisms. Even if this machine had some level of self-awareness, I still struggle to see how it could understand how truly important life is to the living species. So for this reason, the Reapers could be viewed as having a lesser understanding of life itself and may not be experiencing the same level of awareness that we've been led to believe. A good point of contrast to bring up would be with the Geth with regards to the Reapers. The aspects of the Reapers and the Geth are very different. This is because the Geth are another machine civilization, yet they don't harbor the same level of callousness towards their creators or other organic lives. Now, I know the Geth may not be as advanced, per se, as the Reapers. They definitely aren't as old as them. And I also know that there were Geth heretics in Mass Effect 2 that seemingly joined the Reaper cause. But, I've already touched on and explained that the Reapers would essentially force other machines to join them with the viral codes. So I'm not going to get too much more into this. However, I still thought it was a reasonable comparison, and it's worth pointing out that the Geth are capable of maintaining peaceful relationships with other life forms, while the Reapers apparently are not. So the Geth understand the importance and value of life, yet the Reapers are entirely dismissive of it, and they continuously act out their cyclical plan. Could this, have more to do with programming than sentience? I'll let you guys decide that. I'm honestly not too sure. But moving on to the cycling itself, I truly wonder why this is a good solution to the problem in the first place. I truly wonder why this was ever determined to be a good solution to the problem. To me, it seems rather illogical to wipe out an entire species in the name of preservation, rather than creating some form of advanced contingency plan that could mitigate the amount of synthetic intelligence. But aside from that, we already know that its synthetic and organic peace is achievable. We've seen it with the Geth. It is a possible ending in Mass Effect 3. So why is cycling the Reaper's best idea? They even had the gall to create the mass relays and the Citadel just to speed up the cycling process. The mass relays, the Reapers were the ones that created this technology. The Citadel, the Reapers, were the one that created this large central unit to allow the galactic species to have an easier time navigating the galaxy and reaching a advanced level quicker. And as I said earlier on, this goes to show that the Reapers only seem to be creating things that advance their primary goal. The development of the mass relays, the development of the Citadel, the development of husks and thralls, this is all in an effort to speed up the cycling process. It would seem that the Reapers are dead set on filling out their purpose and optimizing its productivity, rather than actually considering any other possible solutions to the organic-synthetic war. Something that a machine would definitely be fixated on, and I feel that a machine would be more likely to fixate on this rather than an organic being. I find it hard to believe that the Reapers truly feel anything or experience anything beyond what their programming requires. It's as if they're slaves to their machine-based ideal of cycling the galaxy's life, rather than truly being the creators or cultivators of the idea. They haven't had a choice in stopping or changing their ways, they just do it. They follow their programming, ever doomed to destroy life every 50,000 years. They aren't truly perceiving the world around them. They're more so just existing within it, forever chained to their calculations. The Reapers regard indoctrinated or enthralled individuals as nothing more than disposable tools. Similar to how the Leviathans may have thought of the things that were at their disposal. However, the Leviathans never truly thought of life as something that was entirely disposable. They protected the lesser species, and they wished to preserve the existence of life. This was the whole purpose for the catalyst in the first place. And this is much different than how the Reapers are viewing life and how they're acting on their programming, which only further solidifies that the Reapers are mere machines rather than anything that significantly resembles a living organism. It should also be noted that the Reapers don't care to explain their motives to the species that are being harvested, so they don't claim to have a beginning or an end. They express themselves as all-powerful beings that have always existed and will always exist for eternity. This is very different. Again, I'm going to compare them to the Geth, and even other artificial intelligences, which often have no problem explaining that they were created. They don't have a problem talking about their origin. Sure, the Reapers may think that they're far too old to even be fathomable to the species of the galaxy, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't just say that they were created a long time ago by an ancient race with a unique vision. You know, why would that be such a difficult thing to state to the species that you were ever so lovingly preserving after your harvest, right? If this species is going to be preserved for eternity after you exterminate them, you might as well tell them why they're being exterminated, but, no. Nope. They disregard anything pertaining to their creation, and they continue to exist very narrow-mindedly throughout time. Now, I know people may begin to say, well, you know, the Reapers envelop the collective consciousness of whatever species they kill, so shouldn't that alone deem them sentient life forms? And while I struggle with this concept myself, I still don't think it's as straightforward as that. It's just not as simple as saying that there are billions of minds that have, you know, come together in one machine. Because when you really break it down, these individuals are losing everything that makes them unique. They forfeit their free will upon their death. The catalyst uses the minds of the species it's harvested to enlarge its own intelligence, but not to necessarily expand its view. None of the organics that are turned into paste to add to the Reaper hive mind would want this to happen to them. Life isn't truly being preserved or altered at all, it's just being stripped away in the name of an AI's programming. If they really were self-aware, if they were so alive, wouldn't the Reapers make changes to themselves and their ideals that best fit the wants and needs of the species being harvested? You know, like, once a species is exterminated, it, for all intents and purposes, doesn't exist anymore. The Reaper that is created using the essence of a single species does not take on any special characteristics of that species. It doesn't develop new ideas or new worldviews. It simply conforms to the Catalyst's programming and its plan. There are no treasonous Reapers. There are no Reapers that choose to oppose the collective narrative. There are no Reapers that wish to go out on their own and fulfill tasks or duties that are only important to that one Reaper. The Reapers do not embody the species that they absorb. They continue on the predetermined path. The information acquired throughout the harvest seeks only to aid the catalyst. Nothing is inherently unique. Nothing is sacred or important to just one Reaper, because the Reapers are really just one being, the catalyst. It's the ever-expansive hive mind that is inseparable from the main purpose of its creation. The intricacies of the species that are killed mean nothing. Their values, their ideas, they mean nothing. The Reaper's actions are propelled by their programming. Reapers never change. They don't anticipate failure or success. They don't feel. They don't think. They calculate and they execute. They adhere to their original purpose and nothing more. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Reapers or the Catalysts aren't self-aware. It's clear that they have some degree of intelligence, no matter how varied it may seem at different times. The Reapers are intended to be the ever-powerful villains of the Mass Effect trilogy. They're elusive, they're mysterious, powerful, fear-inducing. As a villain, they do a pretty damn good job. But when we peel back that facade, and we really peer into the detailed components of the Reaper's mind and motives, one could argue that there is little more to it than complex machinery striving to achieve one program goal. A never-ending existence of servitude, not to any other beings, but to themselves. Itself. The Catalyst. Life is resilient. It overcomes hardships and it sticks it out through conflict. Deciding to harvest entire civilizations in the name of a goal that is inherently flawed doesn't lead us to a solid resolution. Let organics create synthetics. Let them fight. Let them discuss. Let them find peace. If the creation of synthetic life, which in turn creates conflict, is so inevitable, then we should be allowing it to take place. Prepare for it. We should learn from it. Change the future. But don't destroy entire civilizations just to avoid it. At the end of it all, though, nobody can really decide what does or doesn't happen after it's already happened or not. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave your comments and your thoughts down below. Do you think the Reapers are as complex and omnipowerful as they're portrayed by the races in Mass Effect? Or are there simpler processes taking place? Is there something more fundamental at play that can explain why they're doing all this or what's happening? I'll let you guys be the judge. I really had to think outside the box for this video, and truth be told, there was a lot more information about the Reapers than I originally expected. I appreciate all the continued support, and hopefully I'll see you all very soon. Thanks again.
No, you can't. Without us to stop it, synthetics would destroy all organics.